All right. Welcome back to the Wrench Factor. This is the show that actually that talks about what actually works on the plant floor and what's changing in maintenance and manufacturing. Um, Everyone's talking about Industry 4.0 for a while, AI, digital transformation. There's still a massive gap between what companies say they're doing and what's actually working. And so I'm super excited for our guest today, Walker Reynolds. He's the president of 4.0 Solutions. He's one of the most outspoken and well-known voices in industrial transformation space. He works directly with manufacturers that are implementing these modern data architectures and has been a driving force behind the ProveIt show, or the ProveIt conference in the past. We'll talk a little bit about that. But Walker, go ahead. And I want to give folks a quick background. You may not know who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Walker Reynolds. I'm a controls engineer, electrical engineer, and sociologist turned serial entrepreneur. I've been in the industry 26 years now. I spent the first 12 years of my career doing. At the time, I didn't know it was digital transformation because I don't think that term was coined. But for the first 12 years, I was digitally transforming the manufacturers I worked at, originally in salt mine, then the printing industry, and then steel, and then tier one automotive. And then I moved over to consulting. And maybe 5 years after doing large scale enterprise class projects, I started my first firm. And in 2018, we started shooting YouTube content, basically educating the market on what it is manufacturers were doing wrong, what OEMs were doing wrong, what integrators were doing wrong. Hey, please stop doing this stuff. Do the stuff that works. And that turned into 4.0 Solutions in 2020, IIoT.University, where we have 14,000 students. We've got 8,000 in the Discord server. So today I do a lot of enterprise class advisement and consulting for manufacturers, OEMs, and integrators. And I teach the mastermind program at IIoT.University.
Love it. Yeah, Walker, it's an awesome pleasure an honor to have you on the show here. It's, for those of you who don't know Walker, there are very few people who've had more impact on the acceleration of like digital transformation in the industrial world today than Walker. He's a true teacher in every sense of the word, and I think it's and he has that it factor of not being afraid to be in front of a camera and go out there and do it. And I think
I don't like it. I don't like being in front of the camera, but yeah. I'm definitely okay doing it.
But a lot of people appreciate that you do, because it's given people a lot of hope and opportunity, insight. Feel like they weren't the only ones going crazy in their silo of the universe, thinking that this could be better. And so, one of the things that you put together and organized that I thought was really cool was you built this online community, and you finally found a way to make it a physical get together, manifested into one of the coolest events I've ever done, which is the ProveIt conference that you hosted. I think last year was the first one. This year was the second one.
Yep.
We just did round two, and for those who don't know, ProveIt was a conference that effectively helped bring this ecosystem of folks together and put vendors to the actually force the vendors to prove that they could do what they say they can do. And that and the fun part is that you were able to catch a few that were that thought they could sneak past you. So
yes.
he calls balls and strikes, folks.
Yes.
But coming out of ProveIt this year, and just sort of the ecosystem, all the folks you're talking to, where are companies actually showing progress, and what stands out to you right now as progress versus still hype? Because we've got so much going on with AI and OT connectivity and yada. So
it's a good question. So, so one of my biggest observations, there were two primary observations coming out of ProveIt this year. This year, ProveIt was so much bigger than year one. Year one, we had 780 something people. Basically, everyone who was at ProveIt was a member of the community in year one. It was, in some way, I knew basically everyone who was there. Year two, ProveIt went to a completely different level, and there were so many people there, who didn't know who I was. I didn't know who they were. Like, there were a lot of new people in year two. We had over 1,000 at that show. And so takeaway number one was, obviously year one of ProveIt was a huge success, because otherwise it wouldn't have grown in year two. But The more practical takeaway was I talked to a lot more than we had 120 something different end users at the show this year. So not 120 different people, 120 different companies that were all end users, manufacturers. And more than about 70% of all the attendees were end users. And I spent a lot of my time talking to the end users. And one of the biggest takeaways was where the end users are and where the market is trying to take them could not possibly be further apart. Like the end users, so many of the end users are still, where do I start? They know what digital transformation is. They know what Industry 4 is. They know what the promise is. But so many of them, their mentality is still, where do I start? Where the market is everyone wants to sell agentic AI. They want to sell information platforms. They want to sell monolithic stacks. They want to sell, i3X was probably the biggest announcement at ProveIt this year. But how many of the manufacturers are actually ready for i3X? i3X, it was a groundbreaking announcement, but the vast majority of the end users aren't ready yet because their mindset is, where do I start? That's the biggest thing.
Let's talk about that gap. Like a lot of companies have budget, they've got tools, they've got smart people, and they're still not getting results. Like, why are these efforts failing?
Because they're trying to solve new world problems with old world thinking. At the end of the day, when the fundamental difference when we moved into the fourth industrial revolution, which was, the third industrial revolution was all about automating industrial processes. Like the PLC is what changed the game, right? The fourth industrial revolution started with the advent of TCP/IP, which gave us the ability to connect together OT and IT networks, and all the data that was being generated and all these smart things could be unified together to convert those data into decisions. So it was about automating business decisions is Industry 4. Industry 5 is about the convergence of human and artificial intelligence in taking that data and turning it into better decisions for businesses to create digital supply chains, digital ecosystem. All right. The problem is that when it came to Industry 4, organizations tried to solve the Industry 4 problem the way they solved the Industry 3 problem. So when they were automating industrial processes, they were focused on the asset. They were trying to specify everything beginning to end: control theory, alarm theory, sequence of operations, functional spec, SAT, FAT. They had these very concise workflows to convert every asset, right? And that worked. Waterfall project management, right? You could quantify everything you needed in process automation. You can't do that in business automation. So in business automation, the problem you are trying to solve is a function of what you know at that time. And through the process of solving problems, you will know more collectively as an organization. So there it naturally follows that what you will want to solve next is a function of what you will learn after I solve right now, what I'm solving right now. That's why you have to use agile project management. That's why you have to approach every project as one part of a bigger whole. That's why you have to have a cohesive digital strategy, which is the umbrella under which all of your digital solutions are implemented. It's why you have to have minimum technical requirements. It's why you need digital infrastructure. The reason people are struggling is because they're trying to approach Industry 4 the way they approached Industry 3. And one of the things I like to say to manufacturers when I meet with them the very first time, get into a room and I go, hey, who here has heard of SCADA? Or who here has heard of MES? Or who here has heard of ERP? And they all raise their hand. And then I go, great. I want you to forget everything you know about those things for the next hour. And what we're going to talk about is how you would build your factory today with the technology we have today if we were to start building it today, not how would we build our factory today if we were constrained by how we built it yesterday. Okay, that's the first conversation. That's the first thought experiment. And once you do that, then you can start asking end users these questions. How does your business operate? What revenue do you do in a year? We do 50 million. Why don't you do 100 million? It's amazing to me the number of people who can't answer the question why it is they don't do twice the revenue they actually do. They don't even know why it is they only do 50. Yeah. They don't even know the reason.
It's not if you ask,
correct.
Or they don't think it is, maybe.
Or how about this? How many spreadsheets do you have? I love to ask that question. How many? And oftentimes they wonder why I ask that question. And I'll go, well, every spreadsheet is the solution to somebody's problem. Right. You didn't build a spreadsheet because you were bored. You built a spreadsheet because you had some problem you needed to solve, and you used Excel to solve it. One of the best places to inventory all your problems is to inventory all your spreadsheets. Start there.
Yeah.
Newsflash: Excel is not your future. The future of your digital infrastructure.
This podcast is not brought to you by Microsoft.
Correct.
It's
although I love Excel. I love Excel.
I mean, Microsoft wouldn't advocate that either. They've got a whole separate approach, and I think you're kind of hitting the nail on the head. Is that they come from this i3 approach where it was 3.0 approach where it was optimized to one system at a time, and it's a function of the very I think the siloed nature of the operations that they work within, and I see that's something that I'm noticing is part of what is preventing them from taking this holistic system level view, is that these cultural silos or these real silos, data silos, all of that kind of gets stuck in the gears. And I'll pretend that stutter was for effect for that stuck in the gears. What's the how do folks get out of that? If who needs to hear that message? Who needs to champion that message? Who can be the change agent?
Okay, so there's one of the questions. So the answer is that it depends on who in the organization you're talking to. So if you're talking to the C-suite, right? If the questions I'm asking the C-suite are different than the questions I'm asking the operator. The question you want to ask the operator is how could I make your job easier? How is it I could use digital tools to make your job easier? This is one of my favorite stories. I was talking to an oil and gas company one time, and I love to ask this question. I love to go, tell me about a problem you've been dealing with for a week, a month, a year, 10 years that you've been unable to solve.
Yeah.
Okay. And it doesn't have to be something, I don't want you to be thinking, is this something I could solve with software? Just some problem you've been dealing with. I want you to be thinking about it for the next hour. And what I'm going to try and do is teach you what digital transformation is. And I want you to leave this room thinking about, I want you to rewire your brain into the paradigm of the art of the possible. Right now, I don't know what the art of the possible is because I don't really know what the potential of digital transformation is. My job when I'm in the room is to try and get you to walk away with the art of the possible. And the way I'd like to do that is to try to solve a problem you've been trying to solve for a decade that you think can't be solved. And one of my favorite stories is a lease operator for a large oil and gas company was saying, we've spent all this money on Win 911. I get all these text messages in the middle of the night telling me I got a high tank alarm out in the middle of tank battery, whatever, in the middle of friggin' nowhere. He goes, I call a pumper on a Sunday night. I send him out to pump down the tanks, and the pumper calls me back. He's getting paid triple time. He calls me back and he goes, hey man, the fluid going into that tank was barely moving. You could have sent me out here Wednesday. He goes, who thought that it was a good idea to tell me I have a high tank alarm? He goes, I don't need to know how high the fluid is in the tank. He goes, I need to know how much time is left in the tank. He goes, my business isn't, I don't make my decisions based on levels. I make my decisions based on time. And I said, that's easy. I can write a quick expression based on these 4 parameters, and I can give you time in tank. And I did it in 6 minutes. And in his mind, what happened was he said, the thing that I thought was impossible to solve was much easier to solve than I thought. Therefore, the other things that I think are impossible to solve, I'm going to ask if they can solve those too. That's the process.
Yeah.
That's the, and it starts out
show them a small win, right? That wasn't the whole business issue, but it built that aha moment that kept the ball rolling.
Well, think about it. You work in the maintenance in the CMMS world, right? Sure. I mean, what are the 2 most important KPIs? Mean time to repair, mean time between failure in CMMS.
That's right.
What is it? How do people react the first time you show them mean time to repair? They've never seen it.
Yeah, or they've seen it in theory and they haven't been able to actually measure it in practice, right?
Do you see the light bulb go on when they go, wait a minute, I want mean time to repair to be really, really short, and I want mean time between failure to be really, really long. And they see that through CMMS, and when they see it for the very first time, they go, wow, this is a completely different way on how I can solve problems in my business. And the key problem is, how do I do more with less? At the end of the day, in all manufacturing, it's how do I do more with less? How do I do it safer? And how do I do it better for the environment? That's it. That's what we do every single day.
Love it. Now, I think one part I want to touch on here is zooming out a little bit to a global level for that executive leader. And one area that if they haven't had a chance to be introduced to you before, it would be remiss to not give you this platform to share this with them. Like help explain the UNS in like 60 seconds. This is a concept you've championed for years. Arguably you're the leader of this acronym and this movement, maybe. So help explain, like, what is Unified Namespace and what does that principle look like?
So I'll start with this. If you want to see the explanation of Unified Namespace at a 10,000 and 5,000 foot view, you can go to virtualfactory.online and read it. There's a UNS running there right now, and you can read what Unified Namespace is. Unified Namespace is an architecture I created in 2005 to solve my own problem, which was I needed to get the data and information into the hands of the people who needed it, when they needed it, in the form they needed it, in a salt mine. And basically, it was trying to reduce the amount of time it took us to get conveyors back up and running when the conveyors went down in the mine. And all Unified Namespace is, it's the organization of your business, semantically organized. So enterprise, site, area, line, cell. It is all of the data and information in one place in real time. So rather than showing people where to go to get the data they need, here's all the data we have available. Here's where the alarms are. Here's where the schedule is, yada, yada. Unified Namespace is an architecture upon which we teach people how the data is organized, and they can go find whatever they're looking for. Think of it as a file share for your business, except it's all industrial data and it's all real time. That's the simple concept of UNS. All the smart things in the business produce and consume into it. It becomes the digital infrastructure upon which you solve problems. So if you land Ignition, or you land MaintainX, or you land Flow Software, you land any of these platforms, they all talk UNS. And so they can produce and consume in this infrastructure. And so Unified Namespace, in a nutshell, is an architecture, but it's an architecture upon which you build your digital infrastructure, and your digital infrastructure is upon which you solve your problems. So think OEE. OEE is a digital solution, and OEE consumes from data points that are inside of a Unified Namespace, processes them, and publishes back into the Unified Namespace, and now you have OEE for everyone to look at.
Love it. So folks listening, that's the snip to share with your leadership team. If they're not sure how to think about architecture, if you're still trying to figure this out. And Walker, what do you think? Like if someone's listening to this and they're like, I want to go and I want a quick takeaway. Where do I start? How do I get this going? I'll do it in 60 seconds. Yeah, I'll do it in 60 seconds. So the first thing that I would do is I would go to our YouTube channel, 4.0 Solutions YouTube channel, or you can go to iiot.university, and there is an IIoT mini course on there. I think it's 10 videos. It's free. You just take that mini course. It is literally the foundational education on digital transformation. It's just a bunch of videos we did on YouTube over the last 8 years. We put together and we said, hey, these are a good lesson. They're a good starter. That's number one. Take that mini course. Number two, go to iiot.university/Discord and sign up for the Discord. There are 8,000 members of the Industry 4 community who all communicate in the Discord server, solving problems, answering questions for one another. Okay, that's number two. Active. Yeah.
Super active. It's a great community of people. Okay. Number three. Okay. Ask this question. Why do you want to be a digital company? Like, why do you even care? Like, why? I know why it is manufacturers want to be digital companies. You as an organization need to be able to answer the question, though. Why do you want to be digital? If the manufacturing holy grail is a organization made up of digital factories, what is a digital factory? Well, it's everything is connected. Okay, everything is integrated. Everyone is informed in real time. Here, ask this question in your organization: what assets do we have running right now? Yeah. What order do we have running next on every asset? You cannot answer that question. I guarantee it. Your SneakerNet is how you're going to answer it. If ask this question, what is our biggest operational problem right now at this moment? Not based on what we learned in the last shift. Right now, you can't answer the question. The difference between a digital company and a non-digital company is that they are informed in real time through a digital infrastructure. And if they're informed in real time, You can historize real time. You can take machine learning and you can learn from the history. You can monitor the present and you can predict the future. So many people want to get to this predictive analytics part, but they don't want to crawl and walk before they try to run, which is the digital infrastructure. Okay. Anyway, those are the steps. And then when you get started, it's very simple. You're going to inventory the business. You're going to inventory the intelligence. You're going to connect all the intelligence to the network. You're going to integrate into a unified namespace. You're going to create a digital infrastructure. You're going to present information in a platform like MaintainX, like Ignition, like Flow. You're going to learn from the new knowledge through that presentation. And then you're going to come up with new problems from that knowledge, and you're going to expand your unified namespace. You're going to present the solution. You're going to get smarter. You're going to iterate. You're going to iterate. And before you know it, you're a digital company. You're attracting and retaining the employee of the future. You are a leader in your industry. You are trying to make tough decisions like, where do I spend this 100 million? Do I build new plants or do I invest in optimizing the ones I already have? But you're not asking this question, which plant do I close?
Boom. Mic drop. That's Walker Reynolds, everyone. Thank you. That's, if you want to learn more, we're going to post all the links in the comments below to find him. You should want to learn more. I don't know how any of this can be controversial other than it's frustrating. Maybe you went the wrong direction to start and now you have to do some retracing, but there's a wealth of knowledge in all of the resources that he has. So Walker, thank you so much for joining us live, and it's a privilege, and we'll see everyone soon. The Wrench Factor's live every other week, so subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks again, Walker.
Thank you, guys.